So let me ask you this. What does reality actually mean to you? Like, is it just what's right in front of you, what you can touch and see?
Or maybe could it be something way more complex, something shaped by forces you don't even consciously register?
Exactly. That's what we're diving into today, how your sense of reality gets molded, not just by the, objective world, but also by your own mind. And these digital worlds we're all swimming in now.
It's a really big question. And for this deep dive, we've looked at a whole range of sources: psychology, philosophy, media studies.
A real mix.
Yeah, and what comes out is this picture that's much, much richer, maybe more complicated than you might think.
So our mission today,
Our mission is really to unpack how your beliefs, your decisions get influenced, sometimes in really subtle ways. We want to help you uncover the kind of surprising mechanics behind what you believe and how you just experience everyday life.
going beneath the surface.
Definitely. Exploring those hidden forces that are constantly sculpting your worldview.
I like that sculpting reality. And maybe the first sculptor we need to talk about is, well, our own mind, specifically the unconscious.
Ah, yes. You almost have to start there with Sigmund Freud. He gave us this idea of the unconscious mind as a huge reservoir, he called it, full of feelings, thoughts, urges, memories, all outside our conscious awareness.
He used that iceberg analogy, didn't he? Which I always found really helpful.
It's perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
He really stressed that. Only a tiny bit of the iceberg is visible. That's our conscious mind.
What we know, we know.
Right. But the massive amount of ice below the water, the unconscious, that's the powerhouse. It still has a huge hold on our current behavior, even though we can't see it directly.
And what did he think was down there? All the hidden stuff.
Well, he believed it held a lot of things we find unacceptable or unpleasant, feelings of pain, anxiety, internal conflicts, stuff we've maybe pushed down.
Repressed it.
Exactly. And also repressed desires, wishes, the kind of things he thought might pop up in dreams or those famous Freudian slips.
When you say one thing but mean another, or maybe mean the thing you actually said.
Kind of, yeah. And plus, our basic instincts, the life drives, like sexuality and the darker ones too, death drive, aggression, trauma, all lurking down there, according to Freud.
So, okay, if it's all hidden, how on earth did he even propose trying to access it? Seems impossible.
It's tricky. He developed specific techniques. One was free association. Basically, get the patient relaxed, have them say absolutely whatever pops into their head, no filtering, no matter how silly or random it seems.
Just let it flow.
The idea being that this sort of unstructured rambling could bypass our usual mental defenses and maybe let some of those hidden memories or conflicts slip out.
Makes sense.
And the other big one was dream interpretation, looking at the manifest content like the story of the dream you remember.
Flying cars, talking animals, whatever.
Right. And trying to find the latent content, the hidden symbolic meaning underneath. He saw dreams as a form of wish fulfillment, revealing those unconscious desires.
Now, we should say, Freud's ideas, especially about the unconscious, have been pretty controversial over the years, right? A lot of criticism about his
Oh,
methods.
definitely. A big part of it was his lack of scientific methodology,
Yeah.
as critics would say. He relied heavily on case studies, individual stories, not really large-scale empirical experiments.
Right, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. Modern cognitive psychology, even if it doesn't buy into all of Freud, is actually finding solid evidence for processes happening outside our awareness, automatic things.
You're absolutely right. It's not quite Freud's hidden cauldron of desires, maybe, but it is about hidden influence. There's research using techniques like continuous flash suppression.
How does that work?
Well, researchers can show people images, say a negative image like an angry face, but flash other visuals so quickly that the person never consciously sees the angry face. It's basically invisible to their conscious mind.
Okay.
And here's the kicker, even though they didn't consciously see it, that invisible image still influences their subsequent behavior, their choices, their mood even.
Wow. So something you literally weren't aware of seeing still nudged you.
Precisely. It's a powerful demonstration. You might think you're making a totally free choice, thinking it through consciously.
But your brain's already been primed, influenced in the background without you having a clue. That's slightly unnerving.
It really is. It shows just how much our mind is acting as this unseen architect. And part of that hidden architecture involves these mental shortcuts, cognitive biases.
Cognitive biases. We hear that term a lot. What are they, fundamentally?
They're basically systematic ways our thinking deviates from logic or pure rationality.
Mm.
Think of them as predictable glitches or patterns in how we process information.
Glitches in the system?
Sort of. And importantly, they're not really character flaws. They're more like default settings.
Hmm.
Our brains use these mental shortcuts called heuristics to make quick judgments, process the flood of information we face.
Saves energy, I guess.
Exactly. But sometimes these shortcuts lead us astray. Sometimes it's just an error in processing. Other times, our motivations, like wishful thinking, can actually distort how we see things, a hot bias.
Can you give us some examples? Make it more concrete.
Sure. One huge one is confirmation bias. That's our tendency to look for, interpret, and remember information that just confirms what we already think.
We like being right.
We do, and we actively seek out stuff that proves it. And then there's the related backfire effect, which is wild. Sometimes, when you're shown evidence that contradicts your strong belief,
You double down.
you got it.
Yeah.
The opposing evidence actually makes you believe your original idea even more strongly. Your brain just digs in its heels.
Okay, that explains a lot about online arguments. What else?
Well, there's anchoring bias. That's where we latch on to the very first piece of information we get and rely on it too heavily. Think about negotiating a price. The first number thrown out often sets the whole tone.
The anchor.
Then the availability heuristic. We overestimate how likely things are if they come to mind easily. Stuff that's recent or really dramatic or emotionally charged.
Right.
We think it happens more often than it statistically does.
Like worrying more about a plane crash than a car crash, even though driving is way riskier.
Exactly that kind of thing. And this ties into the frequency illusion, sometimes called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon.
Oh, I think I know this one. It's when you learn a new word or buy a specific type of car.
And suddenly you see it everywhere. It feels like it's popping up with improbable frequency. It was always there, but now it's available in your memory, so you notice it.
It's like the universe is messing with you.
It feels like it. Then you've got biases related to ourselves, like egocentric bias, over-relying on our own perspective. This includes things like illusory superiority.
The better than average effect, where most people think they're better drivers than average.
That's the one. And the overconfidence effect. Studies show when people say they're 99% certain about an answer, they're actually wrong about 40% of the time.
Ouch. So we're not as rational as we think.
Not nearly. And maybe the most fundamental one, the one that underpins so many others, is naive realism.
What's that?
It's the simple, often unconscious belief that we see reality as it really is objectively and without bias. We think our perception is the true, unfiltered version of the world.
And the problem with that is?
Well, if you believe you see things perfectly objectively, then anyone who disagrees with you must be irrational, biased, or maybe just stupid, right?
Yeah.
It makes genuine understanding really hard.
Yeah, I see that.
And this links to unconscious bias, or implicit bias. These are those underlying stereotypes and attitudes we unconsciously hold about other people or groups. Our brain makes quick judgments based on past experiences, patterns it's learned, often without us even knowing it's happening.
So pulling this together, it's not just one bias. It's like this whole web of unconscious processes and mental shortcuts are working together.
Exactly. Conspiring, you might say, to build this personal reality for each of us that feels completely solid and objective, even when it's, well, highly subjective.
These aren't flaws, you said. They're just how our minds work. Shortcuts that influence us every day. Okay. But our reality isn't only built inside our heads, right? There are external forces at play, too.
Oh, absolutely. We need to talk about the external architects. Mass media is a huge one. Newspapers, TV, radio, the internet. They're crucial in shaping public opinion. Often our main source for news, discussion, understanding our culture.
But they can also be used to manipulate.
Definitely. That's where propaganda comes in. Intentionally misleading information spread to push specific agendas or ideologies.
And history has some pretty chilling examples your sources mentioned.
Yeah, cases like Nazi Germany or the way the Iraq War was portrayed in U.S. media are often cited as examples where propaganda heavily shaped how the public saw things.
Which naturally makes you worry about bias, right? Especially when you think about who owns the media or government influence.
It raises huge concerns about editorial integrity. Is the priority rigorous journalism, or is it sometimes sensationalism? Or pushing a particular line?
It feels like the news cycle is so fast now, too.
And very managed. There's a quote in our sources that puts it bluntly. Modern politics is carefully filtered and treated through the alchemy of public relations and spin.
Alchemy, I like that.
To create a political discourse that, when reported, is far from honest, fair, or delivered with a sense of duty to the public. Strong words, but they capture that concern.
So media shapes the narrative, but there's another external architect now, one that's maybe even more pervasive and invisible:
Ah,
algorithms.
yes. The hidden hand in our digital lives.
Mm.
These are the systems, the code, that analyze your past behaviors, your clicks, likes, shares, searches,
Everything you do online, basically.
pretty much. And they use that data to predict what will keep you engaged, what will hold your attention, and then show you more of that content.
It sounds helpful, like getting personalized recommendations.
And it can be, but there are significant downsides. They can feed addictive behaviors, keeping you scrolling or clicking, which impacts mental health for some. And crucially, they can drastically narrow your exposure to different viewpoints.
Creating that echo chamber effect.
Exactly. A space where you mainly hear opinions that match your own. Your existing beliefs get stronger, and you just don't encounter challenging ideas as often.
And the scary part is, we often don't even realize it's happening, right?
That's key. Users are often unaware of the extent to which their social media experience is curated. The algorithms is deciding in part which messages, which people, which ideas you see. It's presenting a skewed version of reality, tailored to keep you hooked, but not necessarily informed or balanced.
It's influencing your thoughts, your beliefs, maybe even your habits. Like that example of the college student constantly checking their phone. The algorithm is pulling them back.
It's a powerful, subtle force shaping your digital reality, often without your conscious consent.
Okay, so we got the internal stuff, unconscious mind, biases, and the external media, algorithms. It really does make you step back and ask, what is reality then? What does that word even mean anymore?
Philosophers have been wrestling with that one for centuries. The broad definition is something like, reality is the sum or aggregate of everything in existence, everything that is not imaginary. Basically, all the stuff that is, whether we know about it or perceive it or not.
But it's not that simple in practice, is it?
Not at all. There's the big debate between realism, the idea that reality exists totally independently of us, our minds, our beliefs.
Like a mountain exists whether we're looking at it or not.
Exactly. Versus anti-realism, which argues that reality, or at least our understanding of it, depends on our minds, our language, our social or cultural frameworks.
Within anti-realism, there's that idea of social constructionism.
Right. The view that much of what we take to be objective reality is actually a kind of social or cultural agreement, an artifact we've built together.
Which then leads to questions about perception itself. How do we even perceive this reality, whatever it is?
Well, one view is naive or direct realism. We just see the world as it is. Our senses are like open windows.
Simple enough.
But another view, indirect or representational realism, argues that we don't see the world directly. What we experience is actually an internal perceptual copy, a reconstruction created by our brain based on sensory input.
So we're always looking at a model inside our heads, not the thing itself.
That's the idea. Timothy Leary had a concept called the reality tunnel, which captures this nicely. He said we each have these subconscious sets of mental filters built from our beliefs and experiences.
And these filters shape everything we perceive.
Exactly. We each live in our own unique reality tunnel. It's the essence of truth is in the eye of the beholder.
And technology, especially digital tech, seems to be making these tunnels even more distinct, or maybe just blurring the lines between them.
It definitely is. Media, social media, even collaborative sites like Wikipedia, they actively shape individuals and society's perception of reality. It's not just the content, but the choices made, the agenda, selection, and prioritization.
Like how news focuses on rare but dramatic events.
Right, which can distort our sense of risk. We see endless coverage of plane crashes, which are incredibly rare, and it makes us feel like flying is more dangerous than, say, driving, which is statistically much riskier.
It warps our perception.
Massively. And think about how much time we spend in these mediated realities. One statistic mentioned was that in 2018, the average American spent around 11 hours a day looking at screens.
11 hours. That's almost all waking hours for some people.
It's a huge chunk of life immersed in filtered, curated, often algorithmically driven information streams. And then you add things like virtual reality, VR.
Where the lines get really blurry.
Totally. There's this idea of the reality-virtuality continuum, a spectrum from completely real on one end to completely virtual on the other. We're spending more and more time somewhere along that spectrum.
It even changes our language, like using IRL in real life.
Right. And some sociologists predict that someday, Making a distinction between online life and real life might seem quaint.
Hmm.
As online interactions, online work, online everything gains more legitimacy, it just becomes part of reality.
So the boundaries are dissolving. What's real, what's perceived, what's constructed, it's all getting mixed up in our daily lives.
Which brings us back to that idea.
Yeah.
My reality is not your reality. It reflects how our personal worldview, the Germans call it Weltanschauung, this fundamental way we cognitively orient ourselves, shapes how we grasp reality itself.
There's that social construction of reality idea again, too.
Yes, and it emphasizes that the reality of everyday life feels the most important, the most real, because our consciousness is right there, totally focused on navigating it.
But one source had this really provocative evolutionary take. Can you remind me of that?
Yeah, it suggested that maybe we don't see reality as it truly is at all. Instead, we only see what was useful to see in the past for survival.
So our perception is shaped by evolutionary utility, not objective truth.
That's the implication. And maybe our very inability to see reality accurately has actually been key to our species' success, which is a mind-bending thought.
It really is. So, okay, let's try to wrap this up. Our experience of reality. It's this incredibly complex mix, isn't it?
It truly is an interplay between what's going on inside those unconscious drives, the cognitive biases constantly shortcutting our logic.
And what's coming from outside the narratives pushed by media, the invisible hand of algorithms curating our information.
All interacting with these rapidly evolving technologies that are literally changing the definition of what real even means. It's a lot.
Okay, so you've heard all this now. You know about these hidden forces, these internal and external architects shaping what you perceive as real. What stands out to you personally?
How might knowing this actually change how you look at the news tonight or scroll through your feed tomorrow? How might it shift the decisions you make?
Because here's the final thought to leave you with. There's something called the G.I. Joe fallacy. Remember that cartoon tagline, knowing is half the battle? Well, the fallacy is thinking that just knowing about these biases or influences is enough to overcome them. It's usually not that simple.
Awareness is the first step, a crucial one, but it might not be the whole journey.
So the real question is, what's the next step for you? How do you move beyond just knowing to actually start breaking free, even a little bit, from being unknowingly shaped by these incredibly powerful forces?